Welcome to another episode of the Peak Potential Success Show. My name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, also best-selling author, and every single day I help others unlock potentials and guide them to succeed. Today on the show, we have another fascinating guest on this show. We interview celebrities, entrepreneurs, business CEOs, multimillionaires, artists, and athletes to find out their path to success, how they're able to overcome challenges and adversity, and of course, their keys to success. And today's guest is definitely somebody who could shine some light into that because he's really, really good at what he does. He comes highly recommended by so many people on my show, so many people who's hosted him on their show, and I'll go, okay, yeah, where should I get this person on? So I'm very, very excited to have him here. He hosts and he organizes a results focused marketing agency. He's very good at marketing. Obviously, he's a marketing genius. He has a company that really helps B2B companies find those qualified leads, those dream clients. Now imagine if you send out emails out there and you get 80% open rates and 25 reply rates, isn't that just the dream? Well, that's exactly what he does, and he's really, really good at it. So please welcome founder and CEO of Growth Labs, marketing strategist, Mr. William Wang.
Fong, thank you so much, man. As you were going through and saying that, I was looking around like, who's he talking about? Who's this dude? That was such a great introduction. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for being here. I know you're way across the other side of the globe, so it's always nice to chat with people who's so far away, yet still find the time to make this work. And it's amazing having you here. I heard a lot of great things about you and what you've done for their companies and whatnot. So, but before we get into the nitty-gritty of your strategies, your secret sauces, and all that kind of stuff, how did you get to where you are today? Because you don't just come out and go, you know what, I'm going to be a marketing genius.
Yeah. Oh man, it's been such a long journey because I actually started my career in corporate IT. So went to school, didn't know what I wanted to do, and I just followed the default path. My father runs IT, he went into IT, so I said, hey, I think this is going to be a really easy path. He can help me with my assignment. And so I went into IT for about 10 years as a data and business analyst. And just really didn't enjoy what I was doing. I was essentially looking at spreadsheets all day, every single day. And it got to the point where, I had joined my very last company that I worked for, and they had me take, in Australia here around Christmas, a lot of companies pressure their staff to take leave without pay or just take leave in general, because obviously things are a little bit slower. Because I joined this new company, I went in November, I think I joined. They said, hey, you don't have any saved up leave, but can you take Christmas off? Can you take a full 2 weeks? And we're not going to pay you, but when you need some more leave later on, we can kind of make it up to you. I said, okay, I've got a really young kid at home. My son was literally just born in November. So I said, hey, this is great. But when I need more time with my son later on, I want to take some extra time. Can I take a few more days? They said, yep, sure, not a problem. So fast forward to this job, and the headquarters of this company is a multinational, and the headquarters was based in another state. So every Monday to Friday, I'd be at the door. I'd say bye to my 0-year-old son, 1-year-old son. Say, hey, I'll see you on Saturday, and it'd just be tiring. And so that went on for about 6 months. And by the time that came around where I said, hey, company, can I actually have a few more extra days off? They said, no, you've taken so much leave already. And they passed it up the chain all the way back to Japan, because it was actually a Japanese consulting company. Said, no, our records show you've had all this time off, taking way too much time. You're actually not allowed to go on leave. And at that point, I just said, I don't like the job. I don't like what I'm doing. I've got no control over my life. I just need to go do something. Now, the trap was that I had a pretty good six-figure salary. So to replace that by going to e-commerce or, to the affiliate or any of this other internet marketing stuff was just too hard. It will take too long to replace. So I looked at it and said, what do I like doing? What do I enjoy doing? And at that point, I had built a few websites, written some what we call copy, which is the words that you see on a page. And I thought maybe I can just get a few copy jobs every single month and go through and start freelancing. And so that was kind of the start. And as I started picking up more clients, they started asking me for more services. And 7 years later, we've got this company that does more than just writing, and it's just more than me. So yeah, it's been a
Wow,
journey.
absolutely amazing. Now, you started off in IT. When I hear IT, that does not come to me as creativity. But you're doing something right now that's a lot of creativity, like marketing, copywriting. That requires you to write certain things that catches people's attentions, pulls on their heartstrings, and get them emotionally involved, which is completely not what IT does. So was that transition hard for you? Like, did you have to train your brain to be a little bit more creative, or did you just go right into it easy?
it was, I mean, the first 2 years of business really sucked because not only did I have to train the creativity and get better at my craft of actually writing, I had to learn the business side of it too. So imagine because as I was growing up, we grew up in a very rough area here in Sydney. So I was always a little bit withdrawn and introverted because you didn't want to catch anyone's attention. On top of that, typical Asian parents just like stay under the radar, just do your thing, whatever. So coming from that background into IT, which is again a career where you don't talk to people. Like I would
Yep.
stare at a screen happily for 8 hours, 10 hours a day and not have a single conversation. To flip from that and to have to talk to people and ask them about, the marketing budgets, ask them about their money and the company and the staff, and then ask them to pay me from their pocket. It was deeply uncomfortable. So the sales and the communications and coming out of my shell was actually even harder than the creativity around writing. With writing, I've been a massive geek my whole life. I've always been into sci-fi, reading huge novels and fiction. So the writing part was a little bit easier, but the people part was actually a lot harder.
What did you do to get past that? Because when you talk about all that stuff that you had to go through, I heard, okay, you had to go and talk to people, which is something like, you talked about Asian parents and Asian families. We usually keep our heads down, right? So that's no number one is to go, oh, okay, let's talk to people, right? And the next thing is, oh, let's go ask for money. Wait, what? You're gonna do what? So how did you get past those hurdles? That is something that's not ingrained in you.
Yeah, I think there was two things. Looking back on it, there was, I think, two things that I did right. So the first thing was I just realized that if I don't do this, I'm gonna have to go back to work and or I'm not gonna provide for my family. So when you balance out like which one's more painful, not providing for my family or just going out there and sucking and talking to people, the more painful option is not talking to my family. So I think as Tony Robbins says, if the why is big enough, you'll figure out the how. So my why was to support my family. I have two kids, wife and mortgage, and my wife had actually stopped her teaching job when we had our second child. So they were just like, well, I have to bring food in. So that was the first thing, just like having a big enough why to do it. The second part was surrounding myself with people that it was kind of second nature to them, right? So I paid for a sales coach, I paid for a communications coach. And even though it really hurt because there was nothing coming in, I still just wanted to surround myself with people who just could communicate amazingly because I look at them and said, if a little bit of them can rub off on me, if I can learn how they think, how they do what they do, even if I can just get 10% better or 10% of their level, it's still better than where I am now.
Mhm.
And so just surrounding myself with the right people doing the right things really built my belief and confidence that, hey, if I can do this and I can improve 1% a day, by the end of the year, I might be a little bit better. It still took me about a full 2 years before I was actually very confident in terms of having done enough reps to be able to have a good conversation. But every single day, I was just like, I'm going to suck today. It's okay. I'm going to get up tomorrow. I'm going to be 1% better. By the end of the year, I'm going to be 30% better. So that was kind of the motto for me.
Mhm. I find amazing is that you went out there and hired that sales coach, that communications coach. Now I know a lot of people out there would then go, "You hired somebody that much money to do what? To coach? You mean just talk to you and give you challenges? I could do that kind of thing, right?" For you, like, how did you approach that? Because I know a lot of people go, "Hey, that's ridiculous. That's too much money." How did you overcome that mindset of, wait, this is the investment. This is what I need to do to get to where I need to go?
Yeah, I've been lucky in that I've always been fairly ambitious, even from a young age. And one of the things that I realized early on is that people have to learn their craft or their skills from somewhere. And I've always understood that, I can try to do it myself and it really, really sucks, right? Like for example, if you went to learn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which I do, you wouldn't try and practice it by yourself and not learn from others how to do it. You wouldn't just try and figure out the moves because it's just can you figure it out? Maybe if you had a lifetime, if you had 10 years to do one thing, maybe you could, but that's not realistic. So how do you shortcut the time of doing it? Well, why don't you bring other people in who are experts who can help you? So I've always had, luckily, this mentality of let me just learn how to be as well as good as I can, as quickly as I can, because the enjoyment comes after you're competent in something.
Mhm. Now, during that period of time, you said there were some up and downs and it was still challenging and hurt and all that kind of stuff. At what point did you go, wait a minute, this is working. This is my very first deal. This is the very first time I feel like, hey, everything's coming together. I could see the light now. So what was that experience? What was that first instant that you got, I got it?
Yeah, that was a long time in the making. I think it took me about at least or maybe almost 3 years to get to that point. And it wasn't anything. There was one moment where I sat down, I was like, oh wow, like this is it. But even, I think even 6 months before that point, I was saying to my wife, "Hey, I think I've made a ma massive mistake. I think I've blown our life savings and taken our mortgage and put into the business, and I think we've gone backwards. I think I'm going to have to go get a job." And at that point, she said to me, "I actually don't think that's the right way to think about it. I think you've grown completely. I think you're a completely different person to when you first started the business, and it might just be a matter of time or the results catching up." So she kind of saw something that I didn't really. And 6 months from one of the darkest points where I was like, I'm a total failure. The business has kind of consumed our entire existence. And we're 10 years back financially if I hadn't left, right? At that 6 months on from that point, I remember one night checking our bank account and seeing $100,000 in there. And it was just like, what, like the amount of expletives in my mouth was like, wow. And like, it was just one of those moments where I sat down and I like, not to make it a sub story, but I cried, man. I was like, oh my God, all these pressure over the past 3 years and every single day getting up and sucking and just not realizing it until like I sat down and looked at the numbers, like there's over six figures, like we're safe. Like we can comfortably put food on the table. And that was the point where it's like, okay, I think we're okay now.
Mhm. From like a speaking perspective or a communications perspective, because that was one of the biggest challenges for you to go out and talk to people. How did you overcome that fear? I know it was because of your why, but the why pushes you towards the technique stuff, the skill stuff. Did you
Mm.
sign up courses? Did you practice more? Did you go and just force yourself to talk to 10 people every day, or what did you do?
So I put myself in environments where it's a little bit more comfortable for me than others. So for example, I'm not great talking on the like Zoom, love it, right? But the phone itself, my wife used to when before she was my wife, when we were dating, she used to say, "Hey, I don't want to talk to you on the phone because like I don't know if there's people around, I get cold sweats, I couldn't talk properly." She goes, just text me, babe." So the phone was actually my ultimate kryptonite, my ultimate weakness. But I actually really like face to face. Like I like seeing people, I like shaking hands. I like, even though I'm an introvert, I like having deep conversations with a single person. So I
Mhm.
go to networking events and just my only goal is to have great conversation with three people, not to sell to them, just understand them, understand their business. And the more I started to have those conversations, the more I was comfortable talking to those people a little bit. And then, I think even nowadays, I'm great face to face. I'm great on Zoom, but on the phone, I'm not so great. So I tend to gravitate towards, hey, I don't like doing sales calls on the phone, or I don't like speaking on the phone. Can we jump on a Zoom instead? So it's kind of playing to my strengths rather than playing to my weakness and trying to improve the weakness too much. It just, yes, you've got to improve your weakness to the point where you're sufficient in it, where you can get by. But if you can play to your strengths, that's such a better way to go.
Mhm. Now, fast forward to today. You're known as a marketing genius. You help people generate so many leads. You yourself have been very, very successful. I mean, like, come on, you reach six figures and you just keep on going higher and higher and higher. What is that specialty, that secret that you have that other marketing agencies don't have, where people come to you and you're able to unlock that key for them?
That's a good question. I think it's the introversion mixed with the amount of lessons in psychology and human behavior. So what I mean by that is because I've been introverted my whole life, I kind of observe people from a much more, objective way. So you can kind of really see what actually do people do. And mixing with that and where my clients help me from, I can then look at it and go, actually, if I was your customer, how would I be thinking about this, right? How would I feel about your product? What am I actually trying to buy here? And with that is a lot of deep research because I do come from a data background, fortunately. So I can dive into data and really get stuck into statistics and really understand underlying behaviors. So mixing those two together means I can take the product or service my clients are trying to market or push and understand, mix it from their client's perspective and kind of the Gantt chart, like the happy medium is selling a product that the clients actually want, and talking about their services in a way that, was selling a product that the clients want and delivering what they need. And when you mix that, it just means everything works much better together.
Mhm. Now, when you work with your clients, what are some of the most common things that they've already implemented that you go, that's not gonna work, or that's a number one no. You don't ever do that. Why did you do that? Like, what are some of the most common things, or that you've taken over from somebody else's? Like, let's say somebody already had a marketing person and they haven't been doing a very good job. So, what are some things that you've seen that are big no-nos when it comes to marketing?
Yeah, there's probably two things. One is fundamentally strategically they're on the wrong path. So if that's the case, no matter what you do tactically, if your strategy is wrong, you're not really going to get the results. So, for example, if they're a big B2B company, like we sell to a lot of software companies who sell to enterprise, but they advertise on a platform like Facebook, for example. Like maybe it's okay for branding, but is a big government enterprise really going to click on a Facebook ad to come through and buy what you have? And how have you structured the sales process from that? So a lot of the time is just, not thinking at a strategic enough level or having the wrong strategy. And then everything stemming from that kind of doesn't really work or needing leads but focusing a lot on the branding but not understanding how the two actually work together to get leads in pipeline. So that's one of the things. In a more specific sense, we do a lot of cold emails for our clients, and our cold emails, I would say, if there's anything that we do world class, it is writing really good cold emails that people actually enjoy getting, funnily enough,
Mm-hmm.
rather than the spam. And one of the biggest issues I see when we go in and they've already tried it is that they either have too little information where they go, hey, have you read my last email? It's like, well, hang on, everyone's busy. You've sent them 10 emails, every single email saying, have you read my last email? Why are you making your prospective clients go back and do the homework to read your email? The second, I guess, challenge around cold emails is that people put too much in there. So it's either too little or too much, where they're like, hey, here's our 50-year history in business. Here's every single key point of our product. Here's every single feature. By the way, I don't even know you, but let me try and pitch you over cold email. So that's kind of the two extremes.
Awesome. Now, like we mentioned at the very beginning there, you're able to help your clients get 80% open rates and also 25% reply rates. Now, the open rates are basically based on your headline. So if you're able to give us an example, let's say for something that doesn't get open normally versus what you guys put in there, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, so I'll give an example, and this is probably a really popular example because unfortunately, a lot of SEO companies do this really badly, right? We all get spammed with SEO emails. So a lot of SEO companies will spam and say your SEO or something like that, where it's like as soon as you see it, it's like immediately, okay, this is not relevant. It's not personalized. They're just trying to spam me. So if we were working with an SEO agency, we might turn it around and say, found this mistake on your website. First name, right? And so it's relevant for you. They've done the research. It's really about you. But there's also a bit of curiosity on there where it's like, well, what mistake is it? Like, what have we done wrong? So a mix of the personalization and the, directness and also the curiosity really will get a much better open rate. But obviously, the message then has to carry what you're trying to do. But if you can personalize emails, that's our number one thing. Personalize it, research it. The email campaigns that we get the highest open rates and highest response rates are when we go in and look at every single contact and go, why are we contacting this person? Why do we think it's relevant? And actually putting it into the email.
Mhm. How about the replies? Like, how do you get them to go, oh, I really have to respond to this, or oh, I could put it off until later? What's the difference between those?
Yeah, so with the replies that we get, when we ask someone to reply, typically it's a very small call to action. So it's not a 30-minute phone call. It's not jumping straight onto a sales call. It's sometimes it can be, hey, have you got 10 minutes? Just wanted to see if this is good for you. In the emails that we actually send out, a lot of it is actually disqualifying. So we'll even ask people, have you got this specific issue or challenge in your business? If yes, I've got some information that might help you solve it. If not, that's okay. Let me know anyway. And what I'll do is, if it's not relevant, I actually won't send you any more emails. So when you do something like that, for example, like our best email sequence has got a 42% reply rate. But of the 42, 60% 's like, yep, it's relevant. And the other 40% is like, oh, it's actually not really that relevant. And that's
Mhm.
okay because not everybody is going to buy what you have to sell. Some people don't need the solution, but we just want a reply to say, yes, it's for me. I want some information, or no, I don't. And that's, the start of the relationship, right? The start of the conversation versus just the end of the sale.
Mhm. Now, when there's entrepreneurs coming out, just starting out. They're not 100% sure if they want to jump into the business or go full time on it. They're just working things out and whatnot. How do they compete with other companies that has like a company like you supporting them? What can they do about their marketing or their emailing strategies that would help them at least get a little bit of a grasp on the market share?
I would say the first thing is to not do that, because if you're competing directly, there's no chance that you win. Well, actually, it was really interesting because I was thinking about this the other day. I was saying to myself, I used to hustle so much harder. I used to work I used to be so much more efficient and productive in my own personal hours. Then my business coach turned around and said, "Well, hang on, but you're comparing one to one. But now you've got a team. Now you've got graphic designers, tech people, other people supporting you, editors. As a whole, how are you in terms of productivity?" And I'm like, oh, that's true. So never compare yourself where you are versus bigger people. You're just never going to win. But you kind of find your own little edge, right? So if I was to be doing this, I would say, okay, for bigger companies, they need more leads. They need to feed more, calls into their sales pipeline. So what my advantage might be is that I might not need as many leads as they do, so I can spend more time personalizing for each and every single one of them. So rather than sending something which is a little bit more templatized, we personalize everything, but there's a level of personalization we can do because we need to get 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 contacts a month. So there's only, on a scale of things, how much we can personalize. Whereas if you're starting out and you only need 2 phone calls a month, 5 phone calls a month, you can really do so much in-depth research. You can read every single blog post people put out. You can listen to 3 podcast episodes and pull out the gems and use that to really show that you've done your research. And that would give you such a bigger advantage over, someone who might be a little bit bigger.
Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to putting your focus on, like, say, emailing or social media with all those different platforms, is emailing still a good strategy to go with, or to jump into like TikTok and Instagram and all that kind of stuff?
I would say it depends on the business. So most of the businesses we work with, well, there's kind of two sides. One is, businesses doing around 10 million or over. Most of our clients do around 20 million on average on this side of things. And they've got a sales team. So they're trying to sell into bigger companies. And bigger companies typically don't respond as well on something like TikTok ads or Facebook ads. So it's more about use email to get directly into the right people we have to speak to and start a buying conversation. So emails still work amazingly for them. The other side of the equation is, so we've got these bigger companies, but we've also got solo consultants. So they're the people who are making maybe, $150,000, $200,000 a year, and they want more consulting clients. For them, it depends on who they're actually targeting, right? If they're going after bigger clients, cold email still works amazingly. But if they're going after other people like them, Facebook ads, for example, TikTok might still work. So we actually use both. Like I use cold emails to get into the bigger clients, and then I run Facebook ads to get other consultants to come through, whether they need coaching or consulting. So we kind of still do a mixture of both.
Now, when it comes to budgeting, everybody has a certain percentage or certain number that they think they should use throughout the year. For you, what do you usually recommend? Like, is there a certain number that percentage wise that they go, okay, this is how much you should put onto marketing, this is how much you should put into XYZ?
Um, Yeah, I just realized I'm not giving you like direct yes or no answers. So again, it kind of depends, right? Marketing's very much like a scale of things.
Mm,
So for us, one of my metrics that I've got for my team is that we have to send out 50 cold emails a day. So 50 new contacts get cold emails from us a day. That's because we want to eat our own dog food. So if we need more leads, if we're going through a patch where we need a bit more sales coming through, we increase that to 100 or 200 max. So
mm,
that's one thing, right? The other side of it in terms of budgeting is it really depends. We've been running ads long enough where I know that for us to get a booked phone call, it might take about $100 to $150 for a booked phone call. So it depends on how many calls we want that month. We can scale the budget up or down. But as a general rule of thumb, I've heard people use 5 to 10% of top line revenue. That's how much you use into your marketing. But the smaller you are, the more you should commit. So a company doing $1 million a year might commit 30%, so 300K to the marketing. Company doing 10 million a year might only commit 3%, but it's still going to be more. It
mm.
really just depends on if you know your numbers well enough to know what the end result should be, and then working backwards.
So when a new client comes into your door, what's the process that you go with them through with them? Like a whole bunch of questions, surveys, questionnaires, whatnot, like an interview process? How do you grasp as to what they need and maybe what they're doing wrong so that you can actually help?
Yeah, so the first thing I try to understand is where they are now and where they want to get to, and then figuring out the real gap in between. So a lot of the times people come to us and say, "Hey, we actually, can you get us a whole bunch more leads?" And we'll dive into it, and I'll ask them things like the conversion rate, the sales process, what happens to a lead when it comes through, and how many leads are getting now. And you'll realize, oh wait, you don't have a traffic or a lead number problem. You've got a conversion problem where you're dropping leads throughout the process. Let's go and fix that. Let's automate your emails. Let's go and make sure your CRM's doing the right things. Because if you don't fix that, I can get you double the leads. You still won't be getting as the results that you'll be happy with. So fix the leaky bucket first, and then we'll fill up the bucket with more. Whereas other clients, they've got such a great system. It's like, okay, great. Yeah, you're right. All you want is more leads. You're spending 100 grand on Google traffic, but you want better leads or bigger projects. So let's just do cold emails. We'll send 2,000 cold emails a month for you. So it's kind of like a diagnostic process, just a bunch of questions, just a very, open conversation. And at the end of it, we look at it and go, can we help or can we not? Or is there someone better qualified than us to solve this challenge?
Mhm. Now, with AI coming up with so many interesting things that people can do, lots of people are actually using them for copywriting, for actually legal papers and whatnot. Have you seen a big shift in how that's impacted you?
Um, The only shifts I've seen have been actually quite positive. I was a little bit worried when it first came out. I was like, oh, and everything that so much of what we do is driven by having really good copy. And if AI can write copy the way we do, we're almost redundant.
Mm,
And we're not there yet. So I think we're still quite a ways off from that. I think what AI does really well is shortens the time for research. So, for example, for me to do research before, I'd be trolling through Reddit, I'd be looking at Amazon book reviews, I'd be listening to podcasts, and it'll take me hours and hours and hours to do enough research for one of our clients. Now I mean, it still takes hours, but a lot of the trolling through the internet can be done with AI. So that's been really, really helpful. I try to use it to write the copy that we need. The style of copy I write or we do is direct response marketing, and there's so much nuance behind it, so much psychology, and you just got to be really. It's actually an art, and it takes years to learn. And I don't think there's enough data out there for AI to get good at it just yet. So
mm,
yeah, it hasn't replaced what we're doing in terms of writing, but the research it's been very helpful.
mm. What do you see in the next few years for yourself? Like where are you going? What's big coming up for you? How do you stay ahead of AI so that it doesn't catch up?
Yeah, that's a great question. Our next big move is acquisitions. So we're going to companies and partnering with them to grow together, versus what we've traditionally done, which is pay us a retainer. We'll go do the work. You'll get the results as long as you're getting a lot more than you're paying us. Everybody's happy. Now we're moving down market and actually helping people to go through and change their businesses and also change their lives, but doing it in a very partnership way. Beyond that, we're actually going to start buying businesses 100% and bringing them in and pushing our marketing engine behind those businesses. So it's a way that, we might in future have 5 to 10 great businesses. If AI ever does the copywriting thing amazingly, it's only going to be better for us because then it can write for those businesses as well. So that's kind of the next moves.
I love that mindset. Like, you're not worried. You're just gonna go, you know what? It's great. If they catch up, we're gonna use it and make it even better.
Yeah, I
uh,
mean, because otherwise, you can either worry about it and stress about it, and I think there's a Steve Jobs quote that said, "If we're not the ones killing our business, in 5 years' time, our competitors will." So I'm always thinking like, if I had to start again today, if I had to rebuild from scratch, if I had to make it better, how would I make it better? Like, how would I kill my own business? So that I think has been kind of helpful because otherwise, it's like trying to stop the waves from coming in. Like it's just going to happen anyway. You might as well catch the waves in.
awesome. If we were to put you on the world stage and you had a few minutes to just share a message, whether it's life, business, entrepreneurship, what message would that be for you to have other people remember William for?
I think the message, as cliche as it sounds, is that that people can do it. You might not think you can, and but you don't need to look at yourself like 10 years on the track, like and compare yourself to other people's now, right? So what I mean by that is, I never thought that when I first started, my business would be the way it is. I was super introverted, really shy, hated talking to people, and one way or another, we've grown like a 7-figure business, and I still look back and go like, how did we do that? And if I tried like looking at it back now, if I didn't start, like, the first step is the hardest step, and people often get discouraged by looking at someone's 10th step versus their first step. But if you just take the first step and just keep walking, right? You keep waking back up tomorrow, doing the same thing, just getting better, 1% better every single day. If you can just commit to small actions to move forward every single day, chances are you'll end up way further than you thought you'll ever be. But everybody who's been successful started from somewhere. No one gets born and is like, I'm an entrepreneur. Like, everybody has to learn the process. So it's just just a matter of taking the first thing. And I've hung around with multi-millionaires, billionaires even. And it's the same thing. They most 99% of them, right? The self-made ones, all started from humble beginnings. They all work for themselves to get through that, or focus on improving. If they can do it, they're not geniuses. Chances are you can probably do it as well.
Great words to live by. Before I let you go, I got 5 quick questions for you. Give me the first thing that comes to mind. You're stranded on a deserted island, one food to eat for the rest of your life, no consequence.
Oh, I'm a foodie. That's such a hard question. Steak.
I know you're a water sports guy. You go surfing and do all that kind of stuff. If you were to choose a fictional character to go buddy surfing with, who would that be?
I'm a huge geek as well. I'd have to say Iron Man. Tony Stark.
Awesome. Hollywood calls and says, "Hey, we love your story. Very inspirational. Let's do a biopic on you. Who would you pick to play you in the movie?"
This is gonna sound so ego-driven. I'd say, yeah, sure, I'll play myself. But so ego-driven.
Okay. Well, usually this goes a different way, but sure, I'll use it. Yourself shows up at your door and says, "Hey, I got casted to play you. Obviously, show me a great night out." What would that look like?
This okay. Maybe I'll go back and maybe someone like Simu Liu, the
Okay,
guy
yeah.
who played let's just say that, because that answer was just so ego driven. But yeah, so if you showed up, great night out, that'd be difficult. Um, I think a really great dinner, and then whiskeys and cigars, and just chill vibes, great chats, deep into the night, great whiskey, good cigars, just good friends. That's a
I
great night
just
for
hear
me.
that repeating again. Whiskey, cigars, everything good.
Yeah.
You mentioned a few times you're a huge geek. If you were able to pick yourself up and throw yourself into one of those worlds, which world would that be?
Uh, Probably the Marvel. Well, actually, that'd be pretty tough, because most of the worlds are probably as cool as they are to watch. They kind of suck to live in, right? Like hundreds, like millions of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of civilians and bystanders probably get cleaned up in superheroes battling. So they kind of suck, actually.
All right. My last question before I get there. Give me a number from 1 to 5.
Cool.
1, 2, 3, 4. So if you had to compare success to badminton, how would you use badminton as a metaphor for success?
Ooh, I love that question. Um, Sometimes in badminton, you put all your effort and energy, and they jump and they have these massive exertions of efforts to slam the shuttlecock. But when the shuttlecock actually flies, it's not that fast. Like, sometimes when they hit it, it's a lot of energy going to, but it's not that fast. But it gets where it needs to go. So sometimes it can look like there's a lot of energy being spent, but it's more about precision. It's more about just trusting that if you hit it the right way, it's going to get to where it needs to go. It doesn't have to go fast. It just has to get there.
Awesome. I see that. So that's how success is like badminton. Any final words from you, and what's the best way from people to get to you?
Yeah, final words. If there's any way that I can help anyone in the audience at all, please feel free to reach out to me. I still remember what the journey was like. So, yeah, more than happy to share any insights and anything like that. So if you have any questions, just shoot me either a quick message on LinkedIn, probably the best way. So they can, go to my profile, connect with me, all that kind of stuff. The second way probably would be to go through to my website, which is growthlabswithaz.com, and drop us a message through there. I do check my emails every day, but LinkedIn is, I'm doing a lot more content on LinkedIn, so I'm probably a little bit more active on there as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. So everybody, make sure you connect with William. Obviously, if you want those 80% open rates and 25% reply rates, you get in touch with him. He knows what he's talking about. And otherwise, yeah. So until next time, he is William. My name is Fong Chuan. Until next time, today is the day to lock your peak potential. We'll see you later.
Thank you, Chung. All right, thanks, Fong. It was awesome to be on here.
That's awesome. It's all good.
Let me